Hello everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to the Two Cooks for Wellness channel. On this channel, you will find tons of healthy recipes and weight loss tips. I've personally been able to lose and maintain a 40-pound weight loss without any restrictions, still eating my favorite foods, just by making simple swaps and developing healthier habits. So this channel is dedicated to helping you do just that, providing you healthy recipe ideas and tips and tricks so that you too can find that balance in losing and maintaining weight and just overall living a healthier lifestyle. Thanks for being here, and I can't wait to show you more. Fall is here, and so is pumpkin flavored everything. Now, I'm a pumpkin spice lover myself, but a lot of the things out there, cue pumpkin spice lattes, are packed with sugar and kind of crappy ingredients. So what we are going to do is we're gonna make five healthier, high protein recipes using the same three main ingredients. So what we've got here is, of course, pumpkin. Gotta have the pumpkin. And this is pumpkin puree. You don't wanna get the pumpkin pie because that actually already has added sugar in it. Then we have protein powder, and I will talk a little bit more about which protein powder I recommend in the video for each recipe, and I will also have links to some different ones in the description. And lastly, we have cottage cheese, okay? This is all the craze right now, but let me tell you, I've been making recipes with it for forever, and I can't get enough of it. I use it in so many different things: sweet, savory, blended, baked, like everything. These are our three main ingredients, but of course, you can also add some added sweetener to taste if you prefer your recipes a little bit on the sweeter side. And if you want that true pumpkin spice flavor, of course, a little bit of extra pumpkin spice. We are going to be adding a few different add-ons to each recipe, but all of them are still going to be less than 5 ingredients, and that's only if you want to do those add-ons. So let's go ahead and jump in. So with all of these recipes, I'm actually going to be blending the cottage cheese because I just think it makes a more enjoyable outcome with these particular recipes. Technically it's optional, but it's highly recommended because I've tried a couple of these without blending it and it just didn't hit in the same way. So for this first one, we're gonna go ahead and take 3/4 of a cup cottage cheese and blend it. While I'm getting this cottage cheese in here, let me know what your current favorite pumpkin recipe is. Is it healthy? Is it high protein? Is it just for the sake of loving pumpkin? I am not even sure I have a favorite. This one is a strong contender though, not gonna lie. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and just add my protein powder straight to the blender to get it all nice and smooth and creamy. So I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup protein powder. And this actually also acts as a sweetener. You can use whatever flavor you want. This one is vanilla. I've used a caramel, a cinnamon, but you do want to use, typically a whey casein blend works really well because it provides that like thick and creaminess. If you use just a whey protein powder, it does get a little kind of softer, and casein can kind of clump up, and plant will as well. So I do recommend this, though you can use whatever you choose. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my trusty little blender. Oops, piece of cottage cheese here. Just toss that in. Another one. Where'd that come from? And I love this machine because it makes everything so perfectly creamy. Let's go ahead and blend. A little more. All right, super creamy. In a separate bowl, I'm just gonna go ahead and get my pumpkin layer ready, and we're just gonna layer these in a cup. So the pumpkin layer, all it is pumpkin and protein powder. I'm also gonna add some of the pumpkin spice to it just to really bring out that pumpkin spice flavor. Again, you can add a little bit of sweetness because pumpkin by itself isn't super sweet. So again, you can kind of cater to your taste. You can add maple syrup, you could add stevia, you could use whatever kind of sweetener you desire in order to make it your taste. So 1/4 cup pumpkin. And pumpkin is great. It's packed with fiber and vitamins, and it's a perfect part of your diet. So heaping 1/4 cup pumpkin. Actually, you know what? We're gonna make that 1/2 cup. There we go. I like my pumpkin. And now we're gonna do about 1/8 cup protein powder. Of course, some pumpkin spice. I like mine with a lot, so we're gonna really put it in there. Okay, and we're just gonna mix this all up well. Feel free, because pumpkin isn't, I've made this with like a caramel, which is typically sweeter, and it turns out absolutely delicious. And I will leave the link and details to all the protein powders I use and recommend in the description. So this is nice and thick, looks mixed well. All right, so since this is a parfait, we're gonna go ahead and start making our layers. I'm gonna start with the cottage cheese layer. I'm just gonna plop it in here. So nice and creamy. And this is perfect. You can decide what your serving size is going to be. Like if you're just having it for dessert, you might have a smaller serving size, or I even like to eat it as a breakfast. So I usually would eat this entire portion that I've made. And now for some pumpkin. I like to call this my 2-ingredient cheesecake, by the way. It's just cottage cheese and protein powder, and I honestly think it tastes pretty darn close to cheesecake. My cup's a little too small for everything, but that's okay. And we're gonna go ahead and finish it off with the pumpkin layer. And here we go, protein pumpkin parfait. And now if you want, you can absolutely add some whipped cream and graham cracker for that real cheesecake feel. So let's go ahead and do that. Where'd my graham cracker go? Oh, it's right here. That cheesecake filling is good. So now for the taste test of this. So the macros in this are also insane. This, well, there's a little bit of extra, but this is around 50 grams of protein and like 350 calories. Though I did not count the calories for the little extra toppings, but you know, those are pretty small and optional. So let's dig in. Oh my God, that's good. You would never know that this is healthy and packs 50 grams of protein. Wow, damn. So what we're actually going to do is I'm just literally going to take this and make our next recipe with it. So let's go ahead and do that after I take a few more bites. We're just gonna literally use the same ingredients. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this here and just mix it up. And this is just going to be as simple as adding this mixture that we just combined into these little pie crusts. Now, this idea is perfect if you want to kind of have this like little individually portioned thing. It's great for serving to the family or guests because you have your own little individual pies. It seriously tastes absolutely amazing. Nobody would know that it's actually healthy. Though I will admit these crusts do have sugar. Feel free to make your own, but this is way easier, especially if you've got guests involved and you're making a bunch of this. So we get a nice light color. By the way, if you haven't already hit subscribe, make sure to do so because you're definitely gonna want more of these recipes. So we're just gonna go ahead and take a few scoops. Okay, and this mix will make roughly 5 to 6 pies, it looks like, depending on how much you're adding in. Pumpkin pie spice on top. And no pumpkin pie is complete without a little bit of whipped cream. So cute. And just how great is this little pie? It is absolutely just perfect for serving parties, or if you just want a late night dessert, or a dessert. Doesn't have to be late night, but it's a winner. So now what we're going to do with our next recipe, and I love eating this for breakfast. It's a spin on one of my recipes, my viral tiramisu recipe, but this one is a pumpkin version of it. So we're gonna go ahead and make that with, you guessed it, the same mix. So let's go. So since this is a tiramisu version, I am going ahead and getting the coffee ready now. I'm just gonna use instant coffee because you only need a little bit. Feel free to use decaf, regular. I love eating this as breakfast. Definitely sweet enough for dessert too. It is absolutely delicious and probably my favorite version of my tiramisus. If you haven't seen them, I've done 4 different versions of the same type of recipe. So make sure to check those out in my shorts playlist because they are seriously also good. So I'm just gonna put some coffee here and some hot water. Give it a little mix. I have a feeling I made this really strong, so I'm gonna add a little bit of liquid stevia. I usually just use coffee that I've already brewed, but I can tell by smelling this, it's super strong. Just gonna go ahead and dip our rice cakes in the coffee. You can hear that crackle. Hopefully you can hear that crackle. And you can feel free to use like a caramel or a chocolate flavor. They don't soak as well. They don't get as soft. So I usually like to use plain. And we're just gonna go ahead and put it here. And I'm just gonna spoon a little bit of extra coffee on top to make sure it's fully soaked. Okay, and now of course we're gonna go ahead and put our cheesecake mix on and just kind of spread it a little bit. Another rice cake layer. Dip it in the coffee. Now tell me, while this is soaking, which of these 3 recipes do you think you'd be most likely to make the most? Because honestly, once you have them, you're probably gonna make them all, but tell me which is your favorite so far. Okay, and just a little bit of extra coffee on top. Make sure it's all fully soaked. I know people think it's weird, the texture is soggy, but honestly, I think it's so much better soggy. Then I don't like it when it's still a little crunchy. Anyway, that's just me. And the topping. This again, since you're pretty much using most of this mix, this is going to be roughly 50 grams of protein. Depending on what kind of rice cakes you use, that can drive up the calories a little bit more because the caramel and chocolate rice cakes are usually like 50 a piece. Honestly, when I'm making this, I usually just do 1 rice cake as well. You get the same kind of effect. A little extra pumpkin spice on top. And here we go. If you've been enjoying this content, make sure to like this video and turn on notifications for even more. For the last 2 recipes, plus a bonus 6th recipe, I'm going to be whipping up a new batch of these ingredients off camera because this is actually going to be my breakfast for tomorrow. Okay, so I have my cottage cheese and protein powder mixture and my pumpkin and protein powder mixture. And I'm just gonna go ahead and mix them in this bowl here. Don't mind my dirty bowl, it's just cottage cheese, but we're gonna go ahead and combine our pumpkin and of course our cottage cheese or cheesecake mixture. And this last recipe, we do have to add additional required ingredients to make it work. Actually the last 2 recipes. And you can either use almond flour or oat flour will also work as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get this added. All right, we're gonna get this well combined before we add our dry ingredients. Look at that pretty swirl. By the way, the 6th recipe is a pumpkin swirl, which is one of my favorite recipes. I made it last fall and it is seriously so good, just like the rest of these, honestly. All right, looks good. All right, so we're actually gonna be making an edible cookie dough with this. So in order to thicken up our mixture, we are going to use some almond flour. So I also did this recently. Actually, I made these cookies that are kind of similar, slightly different ingredients, and I will link the recipe as well to this, but similar ingredients. So I kind of want to try this version as well, baked, and see if that cookie works. Anyway, so we're gonna do 1 cup almond flour. This is probably a bad idea doing it this way. The whole thing's just gonna come pouring out and it's gonna end up being more than 1 cup. Slow my way with it. A little more. All right, that looks like it's just about 1 cup or 1 cup almond flour. Okay, so this still needs to be thickened more, but instead of adding more almond flour, I'm going to add some protein powder to get a little bit of a thicker consistency. If you like this for your cookie dough, then by all means, stick with this. Otherwise, we're gonna go ahead and make it a little thicker. Okay, so I'm gonna start with 1/4 cup protein powder. Now, the protein powder that you use will absolutely make a difference in this recipe, just like the other recipes as well. So for example, if I used whey in this, it would be, just whey without a casein blend. It wouldn't quite thicken up the same way because whey is a little creamier. So it doesn't really provide that thickness. Again, I'll leave some details about the protein powders I'm using in the description of this video so that you can, make a decision on which ones you'd like to use. All right, so this is looking like some good cookie dough texture. So again, feel free to adjust as you like. If you prefer it a little thicker, you can feel free to add more almond flour or protein powder. But this looks like a pretty darn good cookie dough texture, if you ask me. The final product is a nutritious fall twist on a classic, better for you while keeping a great texture, flavor, and macros. I'd love to hear from you. Are you enjoying these recipes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you do, tap that thumbs up so I know to make more videos just like this. Okay, so for our last recipe, we actually need to thicken up this dough even further so that we can roll into balls. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add about a 1/8 cup of protein powder at a time. And this is roughly 15 grams, so like roughly half a scoop of protein powder, so that we can just kind of thicken it up. And again, I'll put all these specific recipe ingredients and measurements in the description. So make sure to check there if you missed something in the video or want to kind of copy those down or work from those. Now, this definitely lost that kind of like cheesecakey flavor. Obviously still delicious, but the first 3 recipes really had that heavy cheesecake flavor, whereas this, it's kind of a little bit more muted. So I think this should be good. So you see it's already starting to get thicker. Okay, so now we're just gonna use a scoop. And pro tip, I'm actually putting a little bit of oil so that it doesn't stick. Okay, and we're just gonna go ahead and scoop a little bit and just plop them down. Okay. And you can definitely use a little bit of a larger size if you prefer. Just a matter of how bite-sized you want these to be. So we're just gonna put all of this mix onto, I lined it with wax paper. You could use parchment paper or whatever non-stick surface. Okay, so I kind of ran out of space in my platter, but I made roughly 20 little balls. It looks like I used maybe roughly half the dough. So if you want to make the entire batch, it would be about 40. So it's perfect if you want to like keep them for, a prep dessert or bring them to a gathering or a party or something like that. But we're going to go ahead and pop these in the fridge now. Okay, so the balls are out of the fridge and they've just hardened up just a little bit so that they're a little bit easier to manage. And what I have here is just a mix of some confectioner sugar and cinnamon, or rather pumpkin pie spice. You could use regular sugar, whatever your favorite sugar, favorite sweetener. And then I also have some chocolate here so that we can do a dip and a drizzle. We can just go ahead and get these coated now. Okay, so we can just go ahead and roll them up a little bit if you want a ball and coat them in whatever you want. Let's go ahead and douse this one in chocolate. Of course, the chocolate is going to drive up the calories a little bit. I do use sugar-free chocolate, and the confectioner sugar I am using here is made from stevia, so it is very low in calories, or pretty much calorie-less, calorie-free, let's just say that. And personally, I love a little bit of salt on top of mine. Doesn't really stick to that one, but. And then if you want that chocolate flavor, but don't want all the calories of it being completely doused in it, you can also do a little bit of a drizzle type of thing. And a flake of a pinch of flaky sea salt. There we go. So tell me, which version would you go for if these were served to you? Would you go for the drizzle? Would you go for the fully loaded, covered in chocolate? Or would you rather have the version with the, what's it called? Confectioner sugar. Honestly, you can't go wrong because they're all delicious. I'm a big dark chocolate fan, so I would probably go for one of these. Just enough chocolate to get this one fully coated. And of course, our flaky sea salt. The best part, I think. I love a little bit of salt on my sweets. What about you? And voila. We're done. I almost forgot to tell you what the sixth surprise recipe is. So it is a recipe that I made last fall after one of the cheesecakes I made just went viral. And honestly, it is so good that I made like 4 or 5 different versions. So I will have linked my pumpkin swirl protein cheesecake. It's like 20 some grams of protein per slice and like, I don't know, 100 and some calories, but it's the same basic ingredient. It just also use eggs, but it's the cottage cheese, the protein powder, and the pumpkin. So it's another under 5 ingredient, delicious recipe that you can make if you're a pumpkin lover with weight loss goals. But I hope you enjoyed the recipes today. Please let me know in the comments if you try them. I'd love to hear what you have to think. And I will see you again soon. Thanks for joining.